It's the jobs, the opportunities, the salaries and the promise of more. Young people from across the country are flocking to London in ever-increasing numbers. Says a new report, many are making it their permanent home. The Centre for Cities says urgent action is needed to boost economic growth elsewhere. So why are people from around the country heading to London? In a moment, we'll be reporting from Preston. First, though, in London, our business correspondent, Siobhan Kennedy.
Of London, the country's most sought-after city. Across the UK, they're flocking here for jobs. Despite soaring house prices, the big smoke still brings them in like nowhere else. Today's report confirms the economic gap between London and the rest of the UK is widening as all the talent flows into London.
So it seems people still believe the streets of London are paved with gold. That despite the fact the government says it wants to rebalance the economy away from the capital city and generate more growth in the regions. Yet today's study shows that if anything, London's position as the premier engine of UK growth is still as entrenched as ever.
Just around the corner from Oxford Street, they're judging a design competition in the London showroom of Miele, the high-end household appliance maker. They say they focus their resources in London because that's the biggest market for their products. It's also where the talent is.
Most of our employees in London are young, but we have an engineer workforce in London, and a lot of those come from other areas of the UK. In fact, we had an open day last week. We had people queuing out of the door. Conversely, our head office, which is near Oxford, in Abingdon, we struggle to get young graduates actually in the numbers we want to.
They didn't struggle to get Tegan Mott, though. She was desperate to move to London to pursue her dream to become an actress, although she's currently a product advisor in the showroom.
That I'm renting in London means I can't really afford to continue my career at the moment, just because the outgoings are so high and the incomings aren't enough to sort of like cover everything.
So even though you came here to pursue your career, it's so expensive in London you can't pursue it.
Yeah, that is indeed very true.
Today's report found that 80% of all private sector jobs were sucked up in London. A third of all 22 to 30-year-olds who moved out of home to find work came to London, and 60% of those who left London stayed in the southeast. But one of the judges and one of Britain's most famous designers, Hemingway, says he believes there will be a shift away from London.
If you look at a town like Blackburn, where I was brought up, where still 25% of the population are working in manufacturing, as opposed to 12% or less than that in London, you see that creates an opportunity. The skills are there, and as manufacturing comes back, and yes, it's not going to happen in 2014 or 2015, but I reckon within 10 years we'll be seeing a reason why you can live in these towns that at the moment are classed as basket cases.
The government would agree with that. It insists 3/4 of all new jobs in the last year were created outside London, a fact the authors of today's report say is difficult to prove.
I would still expect to see London dominating in terms of job growth and economic performance, bearing in mind, remember, that in the 10 years prior to the recession, London dominated then. We had good growth in Bristol and Manchester and Newcastle, etc. But actually, London dominated jobs growth and economic performance then.
And it seems it will continue to dominate jobs and economic performance into the future too.